Hi Trey, could you say hi to everybody?
How's it going, guys? I'm Trey Stephens with AgriSpray Drones. And yeah, like you said, we're really excited today to show you guys a little bit everything we got going on and how we teach and use these drones to empower rural America here in the United States. So I'm going to do it a little differently here. Starting off, we're going to walk through and we're going to show everyone our trailer and operation setups before we get into the flying. We had it setting over here, so we're just going to walk through that really quick. This is one of our New Way Ag spray trailers. We've actually got this one outfitted out right now for any custom application work, spraying work. We use it at a lot of demos. So if you guys like, I'll walk you around really quick and show you the concepts that we have on here. I'm going to set the controller down. This is about a 22-foot long trailer with a 30-something foot top flight deck. The reason being for that is I want to say about 60 to 70% of the majority of spraying with drones in agriculture is fungicide applications, mainly corn fungicide. With that being said, you know, our average corn plant's 10 to 12 foot tall, so these top deck trailers really provide great efficiency when providing corn fungicide spraying applications. Down low down here, you're going to see one of our home items right here. This is the auto mixer system that we make here at AgriSpray Drones in Boonville. This is actually set up on a caddy that we got, so you got everything you need. We have our auto mixer down low, our 5 product tanks right here, a 30-gallon cone inductor tank on the back side over there, our touchscreen tablet to work the entire system, and then our pump and hose reel down here on the bottom that we would feed up to the top to fill our drones and keep running. Back behind that, back here, we've got 4 275 gallon totes. This is where we fill our water, or if we had a pre-mixed hot load bulk tanks, we could just slide them right on, plug them in, bypass a line, and feed that straight up to the top of the trailer. Off the rear back here, we've already taken some off. This is where we hold our generators to power all of our charging systems up top. We are running 12,000 running watt minimum. You can go up from there, but 12,000 running watt minimum is about what we're suggesting these days with the new C10,000 chargers.
Hi Trey, we see some questions on the list, and
yep.
They have some curious about this touch screen. So I do see in each spring season for the general trailer, and people will turn on, turn off, you know, tens of the valves to control the mixture, the water circulation.
Mm-hmm.
So does it mean with this touch screen we can realize the whole process, the whole automated?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
you run
more introduction on this part.
Yeah. Top one up.
Top of this trailer.
I don't have any power, unfortunately. Yep. But what we do off the touch screen here, this whole system was designed off the basis of fungicide spraying applications. You know, if you look down low, we got 3 pumps on the auto mixing system. Your first 2 large pumps here are designed to pull water from our bulk tanks in the back. This third larger pump here would be more for a foliar fertilizer or anything with a heavier rate, 1/2 gallon to 1 gallon per acre. Our 3 smaller pumps over here, the idea with that being is for these 3 product tanks right here: fungicide, insecticide, and drift reductant. And with that, you would go into our touchscreen. Like I said, unfortunately, I don't have power run to it right now. You could go in and plug in what you're using, calibrate, and once it's saved in that system, it's saved in there for good. So once you came to a job knowing what you were going to have to use, you could go in, pull it out of your settings. If you hadn't put it in there yet, run a quick calibration, save it, set your desired rate, set your total acreage or how much you're going to be spraying. And the basis of this system is once you press go, it starts pulling from the water pump or from the water tanks and from your chemical product tanks up here. And we have a level sensor placed on this cone inductor. Once the total solution reaches that level sensor, it will shut off and stop pulling from the tanks. Once you pull out of your inductor tank to fill your drone, once it goes below that level sensor, then you will, the system will automatically begin mixing again, so that way you are never waiting on mixing chemical. Now, as you continue through your task, once you reach the end, or once that the system is deemed that you have pulled enough product for the job that you have entered, it will stop mixing at that said point, and give you a data report or a field report at the end of that to know how much exactly you pulled, how much you should have sprayed. That way you can line up at the end of the day and make sure everything is correct.
Sounds so convenient and more advanced.
Yes.
So is that the pump tube and going to the top layer?
This is actually a recirc right here. The main pump comes off the bottom here, runs up this yellow line, and we have an output up top.
So this.
Yep.
This tube is to
Yep. The clear line
the
clear line there is if we have a hot bulk mix. It's just a recirc to keep that solution mixed up.
So it's expected to see what we can see on the top layer. Can we
Yep.
go to the
Yeah.
top layer?
Absolutely.
There we go. Really awesome, guys. See, this is the top open view here.
Yep. So up here in the front right here, this is where we charge our batteries. We have our cooling stations strapped down. We feel this is somewhat the most convenient way for us to do it up here. Typically when we are flying or when we're up here, we're going to be behind the guardrail, the safety barrier. And as you can see, we're going to land the drones off the back. Right down here, that's that output I was talking where we would connect a hose to be able to fill the drone up top. So obviously a lot of space up here. You can safely and conveniently land 2 drones at a time up here and operate with that. You got plenty of space to work around. Usually we'll be wearing a safety harness or something like that since we don't have rails on the side. But yeah, really, really neat concept, and it's very, very efficient.
Yeah, so I see there is an umbrella here, so we can to set up a shield, right?
Yep, it's actually underneath there where she's strapped in, but yep, there's a pole underneath there where we can pop that umbrella up. It gets a little hot and sunny during the busy season here in July when we're doing a lot of our fungicide applications, so it's real handy to have shade and keep yourself cool out there on those long days.
Today is very cold because it's
yeah.
oh my God, cloudy everywhere.
Yeah, it's November in Missouri now.
Yes. But during the summer, spring season, I believe there are lots of shade. We need to protect ourselves.
Yeah, you're looking at a lot of 90 to 100 degree days during the heart of our busy season here in the Midwest.
This is very helpful.
And,
just ride this and by the agriculture drones. No matter the weather, the cloudy, and just after the rain, I believe we can start our operation immediately, just like our live show, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and get after it. We're going to take the drone off here and take it back to where we're going to operate from over at the shop. We're going to hook the controller up to a TV screen so everybody will be able to see it a lot better.
Okay.
Preparing to take off. Stand back at a safe distance. Take off.
No matter where you are, agriculture fans, please do remember, keep your eyes on the drones and the remote controller. You need to keep the safety for all the airspace.
All right.
How many acres this drone can spray or cover every hour?
Depends on what volume you're spraying. Majority of what we see and use the drones for here in the Midwest, like I said, fungicide applications, which are going to be made at 2 gallons per acre. At a 2 gallon per acre rate with a T50, we're seeing pretty consistently around 40 to 45 acres an hour, sometimes even up closer to 50. As you increase your volume, you go up to say 3 gallons an acre. You're going to be looking more at that 35-ish acres per hour, get up to 5 gallons per acre on some heavy volume work, and you're probably going to be seeing about 25 to 30 acres an hour. So it's a lot better. It's getting better every day.
All right, here we go.
Let's go ahead and hook up.
Set up, and it will allow us to see the real-time content on the remote controller. and see it is more clear. Oh my god, it's fun better to let you see the content of the remote controller on the live show. So that is our FD Jones. So here's Trey.
Yeah. So
next up, Trey will show us some tips in the workflow, how to plan the field and configure the flying parameters.
Yeah. So I'll set up a quick, simple field right here outside of the shop. We're going to go ahead. Majority of the time we do a lot of our field mapping directly off the satellite image here on the controller. At times when that satellite imagery is not up to date, that's when we will fly the drone and create a boundary path with the drone itself. But just to make it easier on ourselves, we're going to use the satellite imagery here. I'll drop my border points.
Waypoint added.
Now, as you can kind of see here, the lines are a little bit, it looks to be about a 45-degree angle. We necessarily don't want to run that route. We want to run as most efficient as possible. So I'm going to double tap the segment, the boundary segment on the left there, double tapping any of these segments. Say if we want to go to the top one, double tap that. It automatically adjusts that route to run parallel to that border segment. So we're going to go back to our first one there. Now we're going to go in here on the side. Just to, usually on a basic fungicide application, we would be running about 32 to 34 foot route spacing. For the time being, just to get a couple passes on this smaller section here, we're going to keep it low. We'll set it there at about 21, 22. We'll leave the field margin where it's at. Some neat features here that I'm a big fan of on these T50s and T25 interfaces is coverage area. Previously, you could do a route and boundary route. Now you can do boundary only as well. That helps cleaning up edges of fields, fence rows, etc. We're going to go back to the route only. And
when we mentioned about the boundary only, so I remember in this August we give a new feature where allow people to add the multiple boundary only route. So it is very suitable for some, the boundary work operation.
Yeah. Yep, and probably one of my favorite features that's newest here on the T50s and T25s is this single-sided spraying. Here in the U.S., it's pretty similar to what you would call a fence row nozzle on a ground rig applicator or application system. So what this single-sided spraying does is it leaves your outside nozzle on as you're making your turns on your headlands or your end rows to ensure your coverage around the border as you're making your turn. Along with that, if you have obstacles within your boundary, that single-sided spraying turns on your inside nozzle as you are maneuvering around that obstacle. So it's really handy in pasture and rangeland spraying as well, where you're going to find yourself with a lot of shrubbery, brush, small trees, saplings, etc. within that designated area.
Yes, and we do notice that. And previously, this is the single-side spring side, the fly route you mentioned, right? And previous week on the boundary side, and with the drone making a U-turn, so there is only the white line, means they don't spray anything. But now, when you enable the single-side spring and this yellow line showed up, it means they will give some spring here over the boundary.
Yep. So other than that, that's a lot of the base. We'll go ahead and save from here. We'll just call this a demo. We're going to save that field. I'm going to click back in here and go to use it.
Contains points with low location accuracy.
So on our left side here, I'm going to go, like I said, off our basic fungicide application parameters like we usually run. 2 gallons per acre. We run our droplet size anywhere from about 300 to 500 microns, depending on the chemical, what label requires, what our wind is looking like that day. Typically, we're going to stay around that 300, 320 micron range. So we're going to leave that there for the time being. I want to max my flight speed out. We know that's at 32.8 feet per second, roughly 22 mile an hour. Height above crops, there's a little bit of differences here depending on what you're spraying. Majority of the time, we're going to suggest running at 10 to 11 foot above ground or crop canopy. The only kicker to that would be corn fungicide application when you are trying to get product on tassel. The radar system, unfortunately, won't pick up that tassel. It will only pick up the top of the vegetation of the leaves on that corn plant. So to give ourselves a buffer, we suggest setting your height above crops on corn fungicide application to about 12 to 13 foot. Usually I run 12 and a half. But for the time being, we're going to set this at 11 foot right here up front. Our route spacing is set to about 22, just so we can get a couple passes to show you guys. You'll see with those parameters, it's got our flow rate down to almost 2 gallons a minute. It's just a little over a half-acre field, and at a 2 gallon per acre rate, that's going to put us at 1.12 gallons that we should spray. As you'll see up in the top right corner, I got about 5.5 gallons of water in the tank already. Battery is looking just fine. We have really good satellite connection. Connection from the controller to the drone is good. Beforehand, really quick, we're going to go out and run you guys through a little bit of what our pre-flight inspection looks like. There's only a couple main things that we really like to check on day in, day out before we spray. Number one, arm locks, making sure that that is nice and tight, that arm's not going to come free. Secondly, we're going to look at our props. Make sure our props, our screws are all good. Sometimes putting a little paint on there on your mark or on top to make sure that that bolt's not coming loose is handy as well. We'll walk around, make sure all of these are good. Nothing's too loose. That looks good. Sometimes too, when you're busy spraying, chemical residue can build up on the camera and on the binocular vision. So every now and then I just like to give all that a quick wipe, make sure it's clear and can do everything it needs to do. Battery's on. Drone's ready to roll. We'll run a quick check on our spray system, make sure everything's good there, and we'll be up and flying.
Yeah, also.
So we'll just make sure we don't have any air trapped in the lines. I'm going to hold our spray button up here for 3 seconds.
Trapped air cleared.
She's good to go. Alright, we've got our starting point right out there in front. Josiah over here is going to be our visual observer, make sure everything's running smoothly. Nope. What do we got going on here? It wasn't.
Which phone?
Sure.
So if only a remote controller, it shouldn't be too big. Oh my god.
Update.
So how about we introduce this part? I think it's fun.
What? Shut that back up. Yep. That's
Okay.
pretty good example here. Even though we just flew it, it just threw us an update. So that's one thing that you do want to check on every morning too, showing that our controller needs a quick update.
Yes.
We're going to go ahead and run through that.
And fortunately, we're in warehouse with good Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
If you reach to a field and finally you need to update the phone there, then you can fly. It will be a terrible thing. You need to go back all their fleet back to the warehouse.
Yep, you definitely want to check that on the drone, the controller, the batteries, and the charger itself as well. All are attainable to updates. I guess we can
Yes.
go over here. We got the spreader So,
do this.
like everyone knows with these DJI drones, we have spraying or spreading options. So we got one of our spreading tanks sitting down here. One thing I really like about these systems is how quickly interchangeable they are. It's nothing but 2 wing nuts and 1 power cable that you need to undo and plug back in. You can take the spraying tank off and have the spreader tank on and ready to roll in a minute and a half, give or take. All you got to do once you get the spreader tank, or once you swap either one, go in, run a quick weight calibration, and then your flow calibrations again, and you're back off and running with whichever desired tank you have.
Yeah, what can we do with a spreader tank?
Majority of what we see, especially here in the Midwest, is going to be cover crop applications. A lot of wheat, rye, radishes, turnips, clover. Sometimes you'll see vetch, kale, anything along those lines. And where we see those applications is in about that August to September time frame, when growers still have crops standing in fields. It's really easy to get this drone out and be able to get a mild rate of cover crop put on your field when the timing is correct, instead of potentially waiting later in the year, October, November, wait to have your crop out and to have a ground applicator go in and spread when it could be a little bit too late. Conditions could not be as ideal. So and I know in my custom application experience that we saw the majority of our spreading work done in about that August to September time frame, getting cover crops put on corn and soybeans. Let's see what else here. And when it comes to that cover crop, with efficiency of that, the majority of the time you're going to want to keep your rates under 50 pounds an acre. Like I said, it's about 110, 115 pound spread tank. Sometimes you can get a little more in there. Don't suggest that. But then you got to look at what your desired rates are going to be. Some of your smaller seeded cover crops, you know, your clover, your radish, your turnip, your kale, you're going to see those at anywhere from 5 to 20 pounds to the acre, give or take. You get into a little bit of your larger seed, your wheat, your rye. That's where you're going to see potentially 20 to 40 to even up to 50 pounds per acre. On average, when it comes to cover crop, I'd say in my experience, depending on what kind of cover crop trailer or filling system you had, you'd see about 25 to 30 acres per hour of efficiency. Like I said, that all comes down to what your desired rates are going to be.
Yes. So we are still updating the firmware. As we can see, we want to emphasize again. So before your fleet go and the day before, you must check all the firmware and hardware for the the special things, exceptions, and otherwise it really will take a longer time and let you start your work. So now I think we're better to grab some new remote controller and with the new firmware.
Let me go grab one of those or find one real quick. I have the one out of the training room. Or
firmware you need it to be in?
I have the one from the conference room.
This is 701. Is that what you're updating to?
Not sure.
Another biggest advantage of the drone compared to the ground.
Yeah, this one is updating.
It is.
Yeah.
We got any questions that we can answer for the time being?
Yes, I think. Hi, Trey. I also heard for the T50 and compared with T40, T50 has 2 more additional spankers.
Yes.
Can you introduce this?
Yeah. Yep. So with the additional sprinkler nozzle kit that you can adapt to put on the front arms of your T50 or your T25, one of the biggest bonuses and pros we're seeing of that is your increased flow rate. So going back from the T40, we had a max flow rate of 3.23 gallons per minute. Hopping up to the T50 with the 2 nozzle system, it's about 4.23 gallons per minute. Now when we put on that additional 2 nozzles to make the T50 a quad nozzle system, it increases your flow rate to 6.34 gallons per minute. Where we see increases in efficiency of this is in that high volume application I was talking about earlier, that 3 to 5 gallon per acre work. With that increased flow rate up to over 6 gallons per minute, you can see you increase your efficiency, especially in that 5 gallon per acre work. It increases your max speed. It doesn't limit it down to 20 something odd feet per second like it would on the 2 nozzle system. You can get almost up to max speed. I believe it tops you out at 31.7. So that high volume application can be done almost as quickly as your lower volume 2 gallon per acre application. Now granted, you still have to take the time and refill the tank. You know, all you're doing is dispersing your tank quicker, but you are gaining minutes at the end of the day. Like I said, with that brings your total efficiency. I want to say you probably gain about an extra 5 to 7 acres per hour with that quad nozzle system at 5 gallon per acre work.
Yes, can really enhance our operation efficiency, especially at the high application.
With that needed, or with that higher flow rate, and in the end, it could just hurt your efficiency by draining batteries. So the quad nozzle system is really geared for that 3 to 5 gallon and over 5 gallon per acre work.
Yeah, so we talked about the efficiency, and also I believe safety is another very necessary concern when we are using drones to do spring work. As we can see, there is an electronic tower, and there are many autumn golden trees around here, and I believe so we are doing the spring work in the field.
Fasten all arm lugs securely to prevent potential safety risks. Altitude stabilization enabled. Recording points with crosshair. Add point within map area for higher accuracy.
Swap controllers real quick.
Controller.
Yep.
Back. So good luck. And
Yep, got it
so
linked.
we say that again.
Linked up. I've already got
Do
a.
remember to check all your hardware and software status the day before you go outside.
We're just gonna double check everything on here.
Yeah. This is also a very important pre-flight check step to make sure all of your operation task is safe.
All right. So if you guys are ready, we'll go ahead and use. Take our application rate down to 2 gallon. Increase our flight speed all the way. Set our height to 10 foot. Route spacing is set. Everybody's clear out front. We got a visual observer. I always like giving a double check here to make sure that all my parameter, everything good is here. Our connecting route, our connecting speed, our return to home route height and speed as well. All sensors look good.
Aircraft preparing to take off. Stand back at a safe distance. Aircraft on ground. Propellers
We are in autonomous mode right now. I'm not touching a thing here. Dropping down to the start point. She's off and running. I will actually decrease our droplet size to extremely fine just so you guys get the chance to see it here.
As you can see, it keeps spraying when she's making U-turn. Single side spring, 2 nozzles spring.
So one thing we really love about these two is how easy it is to go in and adjust your parameters on the go. We can adjust our application rate, our droplet size, our flight speed, or our height above the crops at any point in time throughout the task without having to pause the task.
Can you introduce this window for us? I believe it can show the real time.
Yep. So that's our real time. That's the amount of acres that we've covered up there, and our total amount of acreage or our total amount of gallons sprayed over that acreage. Down below, you'll see our real time down here too of our height, speed, distance from home point, and our pump flow rate.
Alright.
She's about done there. She'll stop, and she's automatically returning to home. Down here on the right too, you'll see our task summary like he was talking about. Took us a little over a minute and a half, a little over a half acre, and 1.2 total gallons sprayed.
We already done a task very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So we covered 0.61 acres and sprayed out 1.2 gallons in just 1.5 minutes.
Mm-hmm. So one thing I like about this too is when you're doing larger acred fields, as you're progressing through that task, you're able to see how many total acres you have left and how many total gallons you have left. It's real handy to see, especially if you're having to mix chemical on the fly or mix your solution on the fly and as you go. That way you're getting everything up to date in real time. That way you don't make too much, make too little. Everything's just how you need it. But you'll see even with our couple little flights, I had a little over 5 gallons in the tank when we started. We're just a little over 4, and our battery's only sitting at 46% left as well.
Trey, do we have any other advices for our DJ agriculture fans and all the people in USC especially? How to help them? How do they enhance their operation efficiency? And do you have any other tips?
Yeah. I'd say a lot of your efficiency at the end of the day comes down to your planning and preparation yourself. The drones are going to do exactly what they're told to do, and they do it very well. At the end of the day, it really comes down to how well you practice, how well you prepare, how your operation is set up, how quickly you can get your tank refilled, a battery swapped, and that drone back up and in the air. At the end of the day, that's really where you're going to see your increases in efficiency deriving from yourself. I know personally when I was spraying in the field, I like to keep my refill and battery swap time at about 1.5 minutes or less. The quicker we could get that drone back up in the air and back out in the field, the quicker we were getting done and moving on to the next.
Mm-hmm. And I also believe the pre-flight check.
Yes,
and
yeah.
The pre-check.
Yeah.
The safety check is really, really...
Taking 5 minutes in the morning to go over everything instead of taking a half a day to take a drone in to be repaired can mean a lot at the end of the season.
Save you 1 day.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when you're still sighting your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'd say
I cannot do this, and I can also do that.
I'd say 95% of accidents that occur with these are due to overlooking common mistakes, getting ahead of yourself, going too quickly. At the end of the day, take your time, be safe, go through everything thoroughly, and you'll be more efficient at the end of the season.
Yes. All right, everybody. I think that's all the major content today, and very, very appreciative for Trey's time, and thanks to the assistant and the help. Thanks to their site of AgriSpray Drones. So they are really, really awesome, and since several years ago, so they are the very, very beginner of the pioneer of the agricultural spray drones application in the United States.
Yeah.
So thank you for them again, and thank you for your time, Trey. And
Yeah, no
and
problem.
say goodbye to everybody.
Glad to have you guys. Hope y'all learned something.
Yes, have a great day. Bye-bye.